Hello out there in video land, and let's get our radio guys going. Let's move this a little bit closer here. My name is Paul Calabir. This is Your City, Your Voice, coming to you live from downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, in the studios of 4680Q. Look who we got in the studio today.
How you doing?
Chris Rigas, the one and only, and this is going to be a fun show. Anybody who's watching, this is going to be a fun show because when Chris comes in here, we usually have a laugh talking about the election. This time we're talking about the federal election and get into why we think things went the way they went. What happened to PP? How it all worked out, and just other stuff we're going to talk about. And just a note about City Council's meeting today. I looked over the agenda and didn't see any changes since yesterday. So yesterday's show is bang on. Like I mentioned, sometimes the agenda gets changed or added to or subtracted from. I didn't notice anything different. The meeting starts for the public about 4 o'clock. They go in camera, top secret meetings they have every week. These are the guys who told you we need more transparency. Yeah, they're in a top secret meeting from about 2 to about 5 usually. They usually take 3 hours. They talk about stuff, pizza, wings, and then they come out and work on our tax money. But it starts about 5. You can go to niagarafalls.ca, youtube.com, or the local Kojigo channel. Sometimes they carry it. I can't guarantee that to watch the show. First, let me get to my sponsors, Chris, and then we're going to get into the show. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, and Hamel Machine Company. And you look at this weather, and you're going to start traveling around. The weather's getting nice. Mother's Day coming up. All the good stuff in life when summer hits this area. But you want to have your car running tip top. So what do? You take it to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. They take a look at your car. They make sure it's running tip top. Your brakes, your safety stuff, everything. Make sure you're safe and sound for the summer. They'll also put it on a computer diagnostic equipment they have and scan it to make sure there's no error codes and fix them if you need it. Now, get those winter tires off, get your car checked out, and if you get in a wreck, they have a full body shop. You can take it in there, and it'll come out in showroom condition, just like the way you bought it way back in 1948. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Get down there, support our sponsors. Tell them Paul sent you from Your City, Your Voice. They support the show. They support the city. So we definitely want to support them. And not to be remiss here before Chris owns a nice restaurant, the Old Fire Hall restaurant.
Yeah.
And we thank him for coming in. And of course, if you want a great meal, you can always go down to see Chris at the Old Fire Hall restaurant, York Road, and what is that? Creek Road?
Creek, yeah, York and Creek.
York and Creek. And to have a great dinner with him, and we thank him for coming into the show. Support our local small businesses, please.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we get into the show, though, I got to say about a comment. Okay, this Dan White guy, and he seems to be a good guy,
I don't know,
but he's a comical guy. But he says, "Is Chris still butthurt over the election?" And I'm laughing, Chris, because to be honest with you, me personally, anyway, I talk for myself. I wasn't butthurt at all. I mean, I think PP did a bang-up job. He got 24 more seats that they never had last time, probably in the modern era since when? Maybe Harper?
No, since he got more share of the vote since Mulrooney.
There you go, since Mulrooney, 1988.
Yeah.
So I think he did a bang-up job. Things didn't work out exactly the way everybody planned, but are you butthurt?
No, I mean, look, I'm not happy about the results nationwide, but we did our job here in Niagara. We got a great rep reelected here in Tony.
Yeah, Tony Baldinelli. Yeah,
and I think sometimes go a different way than you want. There's other things that worked out in our that we were happy about, and other things that we weren't. That's the way elections go. That's why people get votes. Is that so they cast their vote. I don't think we would have seen. I don't think anybody really predicted that the NDP would fall so far and so hard as they did. They're an 18%, 16 to 20% vote share in any other election. Jagmeet completely messed that party up and sacrificed the country prior to, and not listening to the people who wanted an election prior to Christmas.
Yes.
That's the way things went. It's just the way they went. We got to deal with it and move forward. I mean, we don't. We're not gonna. We're conservatives. Conservatives don't cry about things as much as liberals do. So, we're not going to sit here and cry about it. We did what we did, and we got a decent result. Not what we wanted, but we're going to move forward, and we're going to eventually get what we want, and we're going to eventually get our result. We pick up and move forward. Liberals like to focus on like to cry about the past for years and years and years, and they'll go back 50 years in order to cry about it, and then they go forward 50 years, and they'll cry about things 50 years from now about today. So, it is what it is. We're moving forward. That's it. Like, Pierre's going to spend the summer going across the country again, and we're still in election mode. We're still going to keep going. Keep listening to people and keep trying to bring change about to this country, because Carney's not going to make any changes, even though he adopted half of Pierre's platform during the election. I mean, so you go to the gas station and your carbon tax is gone off of the gas, although they still tax the industrial guys, and that's why you see the spike lately. You see that gone, and you see the capital gains increase has now been shoved aside. I mean, who made that happen? It was the Liberals would have never done it if it wasn't for Pierre calling it out, making the election about that stuff. So we're getting a little bit of what we want anyway. And it's not that we like Carney, because we don't. I actually think Carney's very bad for this country. I think he might even be worse for the country than Trudeau.
Probably.
But, long term, I think. I mean, if he goes through with what his philosophies are and his thinking, I think this country could be in trouble. We'll see. I think there's going to be. I don't think that his government will last very long in a minority situation. I think he's going to do what he can to try to bring those NDP guys over into his caucus. If he can, because without that, I think he's going to be forced into an election and within I'm predicting 18, 24 months. Yeah, right around there. And the reason I think that, well, traditionally minority governments only last 2 years anyways, but I think that I really believe that Alberta will be a catalyst to an election. I think because Danielle Smith put out some stuff yesterday, or was the day before, I can't remember, but she basically said there's 5 things that they're looking at, and they want that they need for their provincial development. I mean, and we've either gotta negotiate with them a little bit, because they're right. I mean, it's their province, their resources, and we're stifling their development. And we're not. It's not by accident; it's on purpose. So they have a legitimate beef, and there's a separatist movement in Alberta or an independence movement. They could do what Quebec has done in the past and have themselves a referendum. And if things don't change, if Carney actually says no, we're not going to be building any new pipelines, and we're not going to be doing this, and we're not going to be doing that. I think Alberta has a vote, and maybe they vote to explore, not necessarily to separate. I don't think the question will be to separate, but I think it'll be along the lines of exploring a sovereignty association of some sort. It just has the potential to lead to much bigger things. And then I think the rest of Canada will say, hey, you know what? We need an election now. So I believe that, and the Conservatives were very big on developing our natural resources and running pipelines east to west. And there's easy ways to get other provinces and the native tribes to buy in. There's very easy ways to do that. And it all comes down to dollars.
Usually. Back to Jimmy Dollywall for a second, right? I think his problem was he didn't run a campaign for prime minister. He ran a campaign of desperation to be some kind of an opposition or balance of power. And people saw that desperation in him. Every time he got up there and talked, it wasn't about being prime minister or doing anything that big. It was like, we need to be the people who keep the liberals in line. And that's desperation. He knew he was on his way out, and he got what he deserved.
He didn't run a campaign for the first 3 weeks. They didn't do anything for the first 3 weeks. They in the last week and a half, last 10 days of the campaign, he decided to try to salvage some votes. I think that was on purpose. He didn't run a national campaign at all. He left his local representatives try to, whatever, without a national campaign.
Well, he couldn't afford it.
Yeah, well, not only couldn't he afford it, he just didn't try. If I was the Conservatives, I would have lent them some money to do it, right? I would have said, "Here,
why not?"
Because they were flush. We had a lot of money, so I would have lent them some money and said, "Here, Jagmeet, go run an election campaign." But they wouldn't have, anyways. You know how the NDP are with money. So,
really,
a couple of contracts to Jagmeet's friends, and that would be it.
That'd be it.
So, but it's just. He ran his party into the ground on purpose, and it'll be a long way back for them. They don't have party status, so it's going to be a tough go. Maybe the Liberals will pass a motion that gives them official party status, so they can have a parliamentary budget and offices and all that other stuff. Otherwise, they're going to be sharing offices and sharing photocopy machines and stuff with the Liberals and Conservatives. They'll have.
Do you think any of them will jump the floor to the Liberal Party? Give them a majority?
They've got 7 seats, right? The Liberals are within 3. When the Liberals went down to 4, I would have said no, that won't happen. Not 4 of them, 3 of them. It's possible. I'd give it a 1/3 shot, 33%. But I think that if that happens, I think that's the end of the NDP as a party, as we know it.
Oh yeah, it would be over.
Yeah, I really don't think that you can run a national party with 4 seats. So I think that would be the end of the NDP.
Now, and I really like the campaign that PP ran. Get 24 more seats, but more important, he really, really appealed to the blue collar workers. The guys who are out there slugging it and making the money and paying taxes and contributing to everything. He really resonated with them, his message, and that's huge because the next election you're probably going to see him improve on that. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, he didn't even win his seat. Now he had to steal a seat, excuse me, from some guy in Alberta and all this other crap, but they forget that Carney fired a guy to get his seat.
That's correct. They disqualified the guy from the leadership race, and they disqualified him from his seat in Nepean. And the guy just happened to be the father of Brookfield CFO. So, anyways,
and don't forget about that, everybody.
Yeah. So, anyways, they actually disqualified him. He was a 3-time elected Nepean MP, and they disqualified him for running again. Like, how do you do that? Anyway,
you didn't ask; you just disqualified.
Disqualified him. So, anyways, look, Pierre did not ask this MP to give up his seat. The MP volunteered. He was 6 months short of getting his pension, and he decided to step down. Now, that is a Conservative versus a Jagmeet Singh who held this country hostage. We should have had an election back in November. Held this country hostage so he could get his pension.
Yeah, and screwed his party.
And screwed his party on top of it. So, you have someone who is willing to do something for the country, and someone who's now Pierre won't stay in that seat. He'll stay there until the government, and then either there'll be another Conservative MP who will not run, and Pierre will run in that particular riding, or he'll go back to Carleton. We don't know yet. We'll see. I don't know what his thinking is on that, but I mean, look. So he lost his seat. His seat, the boundaries changed. They were gerrymandered. If you take one good look at that map, you took one good look at that map, they gerrymandered that. The car votes there were ridiculous. So, look, when Liberals, and I know there's supposed to be independent provincial commissions that look at the seats and all this other stuff, but look, they're appointed, they're judges appointed by the Liberals, and they're some of them are wacko leftist judges who are appointed by the Liberals, and they put these guys on an electoral commission to look at the boundaries. So what they do is they look at the polling data, right? Someone in the Liberal Party looks at the polling data and says, hey, we won these polls, we won those polls, we won these polls. How can we carve out so that they get 120 or 130,000 in their electoral district, and we make it so that the polls are all in our favor from the prior election? So they did it. And if you look at the map, the way they carved it out, like Canada, like I'm familiar with Ottawa because I lived there for 2 years. So, and I'm familiar with Nepean as well. Like, I know the whole area. If you look at it, I mean, well, Canada back then when I lived in Ottawa was just actually just being built up, and it was where the Senators Stadium was just being built at that time too. I think it's called the Scotiabank Place. Back then it was called the Palladium, and what was Canada? Canada was where all the Nortel executives lived, and all the government employees were moving to. That was who was snapping up all these new builds there. It was all government employees. So what is Canada today? It's all government employees or retirees, and that's what they don't like Pierre because he was aiming to reduce the federal government. And the funny thing is that right now the public service union. I think it's the PSCA or PSAC. I can't remember what public service, whatever the name of the union is, currently taking out ads against Carney because Carney has said he's going to cap hiring. So that's another policy that kind of went under the radar that he stole from Pierre. Well, Pierre said he was going to reduce through attrition, but Carney has said he's capping it. So it's one more policy. One more, so it's like 60% of Carney's platform that he ran on is conservative policy. Next time, if you want conservative policy and you want it to be done right, elect the conservatives. Yeah. But anyway, so
true enough.
So so he lost his riding, and he didn't lose it by much. It was 4,000 votes in a fairly large riding. But what really strikes me too, the difference is so the average turnout was 68% across the country. In Pierre's riding, it was 85%.
Yeah, and they
had the longest ballot thing at 91.
The whole group there, what was it called? I can't remember the name of it, but they all went in. One guy sponsored all of them.
Yeah.
And then they all ran. There was 91 people on the ballot.
Yeah.
It was the most, and they said they're going to do the same thing when Pierre runs for the by-election.
Yeah, they got to change that. They're going to have to do something about that. About that guy, it's electoral malfeasance. Like it's manipulation. Shouldn't be allowed to do that. It should be 100. These people should do this organically. Go get their 100 signatures themselves. You can't have one person registering them.
What if we did that in Niagara Falls?
Well, I mean, technically you could, right? But I mean, why do it? Why mess with the electoral process? And it's always a liberal ploy, right? It's always something.
I don't get it. I mean,
it's always
fun.
It's always a liberal ploy. Why you guys want to screw up an election? Like, why? Just run. Just be fair. Just run. And have a normal election. Why is it always the liberals got to pull stunts like this? Turnabout's fair play because we can start doing that in every liberal heavy riding if we wanted to. But we don't want to waste our energy on something like that. We rather worry about the country, so and waste our energy trying to fix things. But for some reason, liberals get these smart ideas, and they think they're they're doing something. Really, it's insolence. It's like childish. So I don't know. They can do it. I mean, it's an 80% conservative riding. There's no way that Pierre's going to lose that riding. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm sure everybody there knows how to spell Pierre Poilievre. So anyway, but liberals, I just wanted to send a message to you that turnabout is fair play. If you want to play games, you can get games played on you as well. you know,
it goes both
down the road.
ways.
It does go. It can
It goes
go both ways. It can go both ways. We don't want to do that, but I'm just saying, if that continues to be the case, if you're continuing to do things like that, then perhaps it's time that you're taught a lesson by having it done to you, and it costs you a couple of seats here and there. But I mean, it didn't cost Pierre. That wasn't the reason why Pierre lost. It was a few hundred votes that went the other way, and I'm sure those people just didn't want to vote for anybody on the ballot, and they just decided to vote for whoever. But it's just it's childish, and it's messing with our electoral system. I don't like it. Just why bother?
Well, it's very hard to believe that Pierre could have lost that Carleton riding when he had it for 20 years, and like his approval rating is through the roof. Like there's 87% chance he was going to win that riding or something like that, maybe even more. And all of a sudden, they pull these stunts and he loses it. And he didn't lose just by a little bit; he lost by a lot.
Yeah, well, 4,000 votes, right?
That's it.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, that's
4 or 5,000. I can't remember what it was. I mean, it's not. It's not a little bit. It's a decent percentage. But the point is that the map was redrawn in a very unfavorable way for him. I mean, they slammed Canada into Carleton, and not all of Canada. They carved out, and then they carved out parts of Carleton. If you look at the way the way they carved out those parts of Carleton were very, very suspicious. It just didn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you have just nice flush borders for your constituency? Yeah, there's two triangles. But if you look at Carleton itself, like there's two triangles on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's like a peak in the middle, and there's like this. Two upside down triangles in it. And you're like, why did they do that? It didn't make any sense. So, I'm sure they could have reached the population numbers by having a nice uniform border. Like saying, okay, this road and north is this road and south is that. And I'm sure they could have, but it was very, very funny. Like, or leave part of Canada out and then fill that section in. But they didn't do that, right? Like, so.
Like Niagara Falls.
Just very suspicious.
All of a sudden get rid of Fort Erie to...
Yeah, well, I'm sure that they got a little surprise there. They didn't realize, I think, that it was, but Niagara South went pretty heavy conservative, which was
they did.
It was nice to see, but so it's just a thing. They played the game with the boundaries, and I think that's what it. And not only that, but you had the very high. I'm sure that Mr. Fanjoy concentrated his efforts on bringing out that Canada vote as heavy as he could. He realized that was a big chunk of the election, and he did it.
Well, right? Anywhere where you have a big bunch of public service employees, they're going to vote Liberal because they get the sweetheart deals from the Liberals.
Yeah.
So once you remove that, that takes a lot of votes away. Now this Couric guy, the guy that he took the seat from, Damien Couric. Now, are they gonna give him any money? I mean, for 4 years he would have made like $800,000 or something. He's going to lose that by stepping down. Are they going to give him a few shekels? Or
I don't think he's a farmer. I think too. So
he gets subsidies then.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there, how that works, but no, they can't. They're not. There's no quid pro quo there, right? He's going to rerun when I think Pierre's going to step aside. He's going to just have that seat until there's an election called. Could be 18 months. Could be 24 months. Could be 4 years. We don't know yet. But as soon as an election is called, Pierre will run in a different riding.
Now, what happens if PP loses this by-election?
Well, he won't lose the by-election.
I mean, that thing's gone conservative for the last 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Since there were cavemen, it's been conservative.
Yeah.
This guy, he gets
he's not going to lose the by-election, but I mean, he won't. It just won't happen.
What would happen?
80% conservative vote. It's not going to happen.
What would happen if it did? Would he just look for another guy to give him?
No, I think at that point he would have to question, what he's doing, but because you can't lose that seat. But
yeah, like seriously, I could win that seat.
Well, anybody, yeah, it's like put a goat there. You can
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That's not why. So the guy stepping aside, he's given Pierre that seat so he can lead us in the House. We need Pierre in the House, and that's why. So I mean, Pierre can win just about any seat in the country. And if he decides to go, I'm kind of suspicious that he will try to run again in Carleton. Like, I think that he'll go back to Carleton. It's just my opinion. I think he might go back to Carleton just to prove that he can win it. So
That would make sense.
He may do that, even if and he'll do it just because it's difficult to do. I think this is the type of guy he is. Like, he's not afraid of. Like I said, some of his policies, they weren't easy policies. They're not layups, right? You got to actually work at these policies to get them implemented across the country, to make them successful. The stuff that he was advocating for. He's kind of like that guy. He'll do that work, right? That hard work. It wasn't there were no layups, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I just wish myself, like, I voted for him, no problem. Well, I didn't vote for him. We don't get to vote for him in Canada, but I voted for Tony. But my thing is, I wish he was just a little bit warmer. He just to me seemed a little bit robotic and distant. And I know we talked about it before, but if I had any advice for him, if he was sitting here right now, I'd say, Pierre, loosen up a little bit.
So
give some hugs. Feel a little bit better.
If there was one mistake that the Conservatives made, that his team made, that he made, I would think, because Pierre's great on his feet. He's really, really sharp.
He's smart.
He's very sharp. Very, very sharp. He's very personable. He's very much, a good speaker, and he expresses his ideas well. He doesn't have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no real impediments to the way he speaks and the way he acts and the way he carries himself when he's talking free flow, what's that, freestyle. So what I think happened, and this is just my thoughts on it, is that in around Christmas time, just before or whatever, they were so far out in front, right, of the other two parties between the Liberals and the NDP, because they both had about 25 or 24% of the vote at that time. The Liberals and the NDP, between the two of them, had about 50% of the vote. But Pierre, if you took party by party, he was so far out in front. That's why everybody says he blew a 20-point lead or whatever. He didn't blow a 20-point lead, but it was 25% for the Liberals and 25% for the NDP. You combine those, it's 50%. It's a leftist vote, right? And the NDP vote the majority of it went to the Liberals. It didn't go to the Conservatives. So, and that's the natural flow of it. So he wasn't 25 points out. His polling average was 45% before Christmas. He was polling at about 45%, and he finished with 41.7%.
So he's right on the money.
Right within the margin of error, on the lower end of the margin of error, but fine. He was within the margin of error of the polling averages. But if you take that, what he did, in my opinion, I think that he was so far out in front at that point that his campaign team said, okay, we're going to win this if there's an election call. That was sometime, it happened kind of in the fall, where he got very canned and very restrictive with his message, where he didn't deviate with the way he answered questions, with the way he was presenting himself at rallies, with the way that it was bang. It was like he had his canned thing, and then that was it. Even with the way he was talking to reporters, and they kind of shut it down. They were playing, they went on defense, heavy defense, right? So, and they did that so that no unforced error would screw them up. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that makes sense.
The problem is when you do that for a very extended period of time, people get a little fatigued with the message. The excitement starts to wane a little bit, but it didn't really with him. It was still there. People were showing up at his rallies. I mean, he had 8,000 and 10,000 people, and, just to hear him do his canned stuff. I think, if there was one mistake to be made, right? I get it, because I get why they did it. everybody's trying to get the gotcha. The media's after him on every single policy. They don't give him a fair shake. CBC sure as heck didn't. They were outwardly campaigning for the Liberals. The CTV was campaigning for the Liberals. I mean, these guys all got $100 million from the government just before the election. So, I mean, look, that's the only mistake I said. They should have just taken the shackles off of them sometime when they saw the polling numbers kind of drop for them. They should have taken the shackles off of them and said, okay, Pierre, it's time to just, go ahead. And like, he did very well in debate. And I think that debate is what helped him quite a bit. He did very, very well in it. And that's where, in a situation where it just wasn't canned, right? He had to respond on his feet.
Yes.
And he did very well.
Freestyle.
The best was when Carney said to him, I didn't give that kind of advice. And Pierre says to him, well, weren't you his economic advisor for the last 5 years? What kind of advice did you give him? Like, what exactly were you advising him on if you didn't give him the freaking economic advice? You were on their website. He goes, and it was like funny because you could have gone on the Liberal website right then. It said Carney was Trudeau's economic advisor for 5 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So, I mean, look, he did well in that situation, and I think that if they had taken those shackles out, I think the last week they did a little bit. So, but he should have. I think that should have been done a little bit earlier. He's good with even with tough reporters. He's good with them, and the reason why he's good because he's strong. He's strong and quick on his feet. Like, they can't trip him up. They've tried many times. A guy with the apple, and he was chewing on the apple. That sort of thing. So Pierre's good that way. They should have just let him go a little bit. Once they saw that the numbers were kind of not in their favor in the first week of the campaign, first 10 days of the campaign, they should have said, okay, we need to take the shackles off of them and let
them go off the cuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you about one thing, the Ford effect, after I get to my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Now, everybody likes pizza. It's my staple. I love pizza. But where do I go to get it? That's the question. Well, here's what I like. I like fresh ingredients. I like a great sauce and good cheese put on the pizza in the right ratio. I love a beautiful crust with cornmeal. And I like somebody making it that can make it consistently good. And a lot of times the consistently good part comes into play, and it screws up a really good pizza one time. Not a pizza. They use the Mancini family recipe for sauce. They use the Mancini family recipe for crust. He takes Saputo mozzarella with a brick cheese, blends it, and then they know how to put it on the pizza with sauce in the right ratios. They cook it just right with fresh ingredients. You can't go wrong. One of the most consistent pizzas I've had in Niagara Falls in a long time. Now, they're not just one-trick pony. They have great wings. They have great subs. They have steak and cheese poutine. They have regular poutine. They have panzerotti. They run the gamut of food. If you don't like pizza, then you're going to find something else there that you're going to like. I guarantee it. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, open till midnight during the weekend, 2 in the morning on Friday and Saturday for your convenience. It takes nothing to pick up the phone, dial 905-374-2222, and get your own Pete's Pizza. You're going to love it. I've sent other people there. They've said they love it. And my buddy, Tony Nero, he gets it from there now, and he says, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on the Canadian. So, I mean, there you go. There's testimonials for you. Get to Pete's Pizza. They have Skip. They have Dash. Pete's Pizza Victoria.ca is their website. You can order off that. Get yourself a nice pizza. You deserve it. I deserve it. Chris deserves it. Everybody loves pizza. Pete's Pizza Victoria Avenue. Support our sponsors because they support the show, and you owe yourself a great pizza. Okay, so I'm calling this the Ford effect in Toronto. Now, the Conservatives made great strides in Toronto, man. They really, really picked up a lot of seats there that they didn't have before. I think most of the 24 seats were probably in Toronto. The greater Toronto area, you see a little red area by the lake, and the rest is blue. Now, Ford kind of dissed Poilievre before the election, and he did it, I think, because Poilievre never supported him or something. He said, that's what people are saying. What really happened there, and what effect did that have on this election?
So Ford didn't make himself any friends.
He sure didn't.
With all this.
Not with me.
I'll just say a couple of things on this. Pierre won more votes in Ontario than Doug Ford did with his majority government. Okay, that's number one.
Interesting stat.
Okay, that's number one. Ford has sat his MPPs out of elections in the last three. Okay, 2019, 2021, and 2025. He specifically told his MPPs, I know this for a fact, not to get involved in the federal election. This particular time, he said that Pierre told his guys not to get involved, and that may have been the case. And it's not because he didn't want Ford to get elected. It's because he knew an election was coming, the election call was coming himself, and didn't want his MPPs to get out there and maybe make enemies of people he might need votes from, because Ford had it well in hand. Now, if Ford was running neck and neck with Bonnie Crombie in any situation, I'm sure Pierre would have taken the shackles off his MPs and said, "Go out there and help the guys." It wasn't necessary. Ford didn't need the help. On the other hand, this particular election, the feds needed the help of their local MPPs, and I'm sure some of them did behind the scenes, but there was no outward support. And Ford didn't meet with Pierre publicly, but he went and sat in a coffee shop with Freeland, made sure the Toronto Star was there to snap a picture of it. Sat in a store with Carney having a coffee, made sure Toronto Star was there taking a picture of it. So he outwardly, without saying it, he outwardly campaigned for and endorsed the Liberals. So Mr. Ford made a mistake, I think, with Conservatives. And I think a lot of the provincial Conservatives are going to hold that against him. And now he's out and then he publicly lambasted the campaign along with his campaign manager. We knew it was coming right from Ford. I think he thought he was going to make a play for leader, federal leader. Now I don't know who convinced him that was a possibility, because you'd have to run a leadership race, and most likely a federal conservative leadership race would include more than just Ontario. I mean, there's seats all across the country. Right. So Doug is not a very popular guy out west. The chances that he would have ever won a leadership race are slim to none. He could have tried to frame himself as some great conservative, whatever. It wouldn't have happened. If you had someone opposing him like a Danielle Smith, let's say, for a federal leader, let's say Pierre decided to step down, which he's not going to. There's no way Doug would have won a federal leadership campaign. There's just, especially after what he just pulled. It was a mistake, Mr. Ford. I'll say that. And you've turned off. And I know personally a lot of conservatives. I know tons of conservatives, and a lot of them are very upset with him. I honestly don't think he's going to run again for premier of Ontario. If he does, he'll have a hard time. He'll have a hard time in a lot of areas. In a lot of areas of Ontario that are really thick conservatives, he'll have a hard time convincing them to come out to the polls. That doesn't mean that he won't win, or he wouldn't win if he ran again. It just means that he'll get, I think, a less of a share of vote, because I think there's a lot of people out there who just won't make the effort to get to the polls. They're upset with him. He really, I think he misread the room. I think his campaign manager maybe misread the room as far as Canada goes. We believe Canadian conservatives, we believe Pierre is the right guy to run this country. We don't believe Ford is the right guy to run the country.
Not at all. And after him playing ball with the feds, Trudeau and the gang with COVID, what they did to Ontario and that, and now this little diss of Poilievre during this federal election. I mean, a lot of people are calling him a blue liberal, especially me. I don't even see him being or a blue conservative. a blue, blue
red,
liberal,
red Tory or
yeah,
blue liberal.
whatever way you want to go. I get mixed up with the United States because they're backwards.
Yeah.
The Republicans are red. Here we got the liberals red, right? But anyway, so I think a lot of people are really dismayed that he didn't move up and step up and help PP.
He didn't even have to help. I'll tell you.
Shut up.
Just no, he didn't. But he didn't have to go and sit in the coffee shop with Carney and with Freeland and have the Toronto Star take pictures of him. He didn't need to. He didn't need to. And he definitely didn't. And you can't tell me that his campaign manager there, Corey Tanecki, going on the CBC, who's on the CBC actually every week, go on there and start criticizing the Poilievre campaign, and unjustly, by the way, because Pierre did quite well. And they're out there with the spin right now. They're out there with the spin that Pierre blew a 20-point lead. No. From his polling average, he's only down 3%.
Now, do you think it did though have an effect in Toronto? Did he lose a couple seats because of that?
No, I don't think it had any effect on it.
None.
I really don't. They may have thought that he was going to do that. What it did was it angered a lot. Like that picture with Carney, having a coffee with Carney in the thing, and not a coffee with Pierre in a coffee shop.
Makes sense.
It ticked off conservatives. So we're like, what the heck are you doing, Doug? So I don't understand where he thinks he's going with this. I don't know. Maybe he wants to run for national leader of the Liberal Party, and that would be fine. Like, go ahead, Doug. Go run for the Liberals. Right?
Hey, maybe he saw the writing on the wall, and he was just playing his cards with.
Well, I think what he thought was
like that. Maybe
I don't think so. I don't know what he was being told. I don't know what polling he was looking at or whatever. All he had to do. So all this, the fake polls, by the way, they were fake. They were suppression polls by Nick Nanos and all these other guys who had the Conservatives down by 6 points and 8 points and 10 points. The liaisons and the abacuses and all that other crap. They had us down by 6 and 8, 10. We knew it wasn't the case. I always knew. So what happens is they do this in the early parts of the campaign, and then the last week they tighten them up. They go back to reality. So, but even in the last week, they had us down by 5 points, right? Well, now they'll argue, well, we were in with a margin of error because you lost by 2.5 points. So, but they were putting those out. But you don't gain and lose 10%, unless there's a major gaffe, usually in a campaign. Okay, so the polls were where we were polling, but where we ended up. That's the way it goes. And conservatives typically are underpolled in any poll by about 3%. Not true with liberals and NDP. They go 0.5% up or down usually by polls. Conservatives are always 3 points underpolled by at least 3%. Could be more, but generally it's 3%.
I think that goes for the United States too.
It does.
But it's just the way it is.
Yeah, we always outperform the polls by about 3%. Now, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, now what I want to do is I want to become psychologists here. Right? We're going to become psychologists on the show. And what I want to try to understand or try to figure out with you is after 10 years of malfeasance, after all this with Trudeau, all the scandals, all the money wasted, carbon taxes, blackface, you name it, this guy did it, Trudeau. How could people bring the Liberals back? I'm just not understanding it. Did they think, for some bizarre reason, because Carney was a banker, that he could actually straighten Trump out or something like that? Like, where's the mindset of Canadians giving them a near majority?
So,
what do you think?
Well,
what do you think of these people?
Canadians so if you want to look, let's break this down demographically. Conservatives won every demographic. It's the first time that they've ever done that. They won the under 35s. They won the 35s to 50s to 55. And the only one that they lost, but they lost very heavily, was the 55 and over. Boomers. Now these are the people, the boomers. These are the people who already have their houses paid for, the cars paid for. The kids are already through school. They have no more thing. All they got is their pensions, and they got their investments, and they got all this stuff. So, um, you know, they basically stuck it to their kids and grandkids by saying, and they let their fear and anger over a leader in another country affect their decision about their country, which I really have a hard time understanding. I'm like you. I don't really get it. Um, they they basically cut off their nose to spite their face. I don't understand how you can let an external character. That's what he is. Okay, Trump is a character. Down in another country. He's not in our country. We don't vote for him. We don't vote against him. We have to vote for the guys who take care of our country, just like the Americans vote for the guys who take care of their country.
Right.
They voted for him in there. Your vote for Carney isn't getting rid of Trump, and it's not changing anything with respect to their attitude or his attitude towards us. It doesn't change a thing. What it does do is it weakens you. It hurts your children. It hurts your grandchildren. It weakens your country. It actually will cost you money in the end. Your home equity tax is coming. They're gonna come after it. They're coming after it. They're gonna propose it. It's gonna get passed. That there's a reason why the liberals put that on the CRA, your income tax every year if you sell your home. Blah blah blah. They're coming after it. You just voted for your government to take more tax off of you and not have it be able to be given from you to your kids or grandkids. You just did that. So be proud of yourself. I don't understand it. I really don't. I'm beyond my. They basically, remember that meme or that guy who just gave everybody the finger? That's what you did to your kids and grandkids. That's what you did. And I don't care what you say about, no, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. That's exactly what you did by voting for Carney. Because his policies will drive this country further into debt, create more inflation. They're going to create more taxes in order to deal with it. You have just sentenced your children to maybe never be able to own a home, they're going to be renting, maybe never have a car, maybe, who knows? You just did that. And it's selfish of you because I think, and Pierre said, everybody deserves to have a home. We all want a home with a front yard and a backyard or the opportunity to own one. But, they're never going to be able to make it. And you've decided to continue the policies that created those conditions in here. You voted for more immigration. And if you complain about it now, you've voted for worse health care because they're going to keep importing people and we don't have the infrastructure to deal with them. You've voted for all this stuff. That's what you voted for. And you're going to say, no, I didn't. I voted for, because we got to stand up to Trump. No. You voted for the destruction, the slow rot of your country. That's what you voted for. So I hope you're happy. I myself am bewildered by it. I don't understand the people who should be most in favor of Pierre's policies voted against it because of some guy in another country.
Yeah, I know. It just blows my mind.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
It's hard to figure out the mindset.
Well, it's not that hard. So it's brainwashed by the media because these are the only people who watch CTV and CBC these days. Like if you ask my kids what CBC is, and I know you're all upset that Pierre was going to defund the CBC, but if you ask anybody under the age of 30 or 40 what the CBC is, they really don't know anymore. They don't know.
I wouldn't even watch it. It's such a.
They don't know.
It's fake news.
Well, but they don't know. They didn't grow up with it. They're not television generation. The CBC is going to go bye-bye anyways. It's going bye-bye. In the next 10 years, no one's going to be watching CBC. We're going to be subsidizing a thing that nobody watches. The only people who watch, and that's why the older generation was brainwashed by it because they saw it on CTV and CBC. They're the only ones who watch those stations. It's over 55. I don't watch the CBC like hardly ever.
I don't watch it because it's so left wing. I mean, it's not, you don't get any truth out of it.
No, but
It's crazy.
so you're on Canadian channels and you flip around and you're flipping around and we got a visitor here. But anyways,
Oh, nice bee.
you're flipping around and maybe you stop as like a Gen Xer like me. Maybe I stop on the CBC for a bit to see what they're saying. But generally, like when I'm watching news, do I turn on the CBC? Or if I want to watch some news, I don't. I don't, like, ever. So why are we subsidizing this? I don't know, $1.5 billion a year for no reason.
I don't even watch any mainstream media in Canada because it's just one sided. It's just I don't get anything from that at all. Even CHCH. I watch see if anybody got killed in Niagara Falls in an accident or what the stabbings and shootings are, and then I turn it off. I go back to YouTube and I stream different news. I mean, I don't even watch that anymore because you can't depend on it as anything accurate. Yeah. Like you say, they were with the polls. They were screwing with the polls.
No, they were, because CBC hired nanos to do that.
Exactly.
And then CTV was hiring other guys, and so that's it. They were suppression polls. They were trying to demoralize conservatives. That's what they.
You will have nothing and be happy.
That's where you're going. Just read his book. First 3 chapters and last 3 chapters. Just read his book.
Yeah, like I love him coming up with this housing solution, modular homes. Guess who builds them?
Brookfield.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's so phony. It's so phony, and how the media could make people think that this guy was going to go down to Washington to straighten Trump out. You know what? Yesterday in the news conference I was watching, Trump was there. They said, "Hey, Prime Minister of Canada, Art Carney, or what's his name?
Mark Carney.
I call him Art Carney. Norton. He's going down there." And he says, "What's he coming down for?" And Trump goes, "I don't know what he wants. I don't know. He's coming down. He wants to meet with me. I don't know what he wants. I would imagine he's going to want to make a deal like everybody else that's making a deal with us now." Like, it was just funny, the way Trump said it. I don't know what he wants.
Yeah,
so he wanted to come down and talk to me.
I don't see any benefit that he's gonna do. There's no. So it's hard. It's hard to make a case to the Americans. You have to deal with them on a different way. I don't know that Carney's strong enough to do that. We'll see. I just I saw him get off the plane in the U.S. No one was there to greet him.
No,
it was like
I don't care about
it. It was like a staffer. I don't even know who it was. Was there? And the funny thing was, he pulled a Trudeau, right? Carney pulled a Trudeau, and when he got to the top of the stairs, he came out of the plane, got to the top of the stairs, and he waved.
Nobody's there.
Nobody was there to wave to. Like, I don't know. He was in the U.S. Who was he waving to?
It's like when Obama went to Cuba.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. No dignitaries, no president, nothing. He got off the plane. There's nobody there. They said, Senor, ahí.
Yeah.
Ato, over there. Go to Havana. But it makes you laugh, like he's going to straighten them out. Now, I want to get to some other things. But first I got to get to my third sponsor, Hamel Machine Company. 1948, that's when Hamel Machine Company started the business in Niagara Falls. And ever since then, they've been serving large and small industry in the region. And now they've expanded. They serve industry around the world. Not only can they fix whatever you have that's a problem, and not only are they important to local industry, because local industry can't shut down. When they shut down because of a problem with their machinery or their equipment, they lose money. Time is money these days. They can't afford to shut down. So they take anything they need done to Hamel, because why? They got 3D printers. They got machine shop guys who know how to fix. And if they can't fix it or repair it, they re-engineer it. They reverse engineer it. They can do anything over there. They've got graphic designers, computer guys, IT people, electrical engineers, you name it. And not only will they take what you bring in to fix, they will look at it. And if they can do it, the job better, they'll do it. They'll make a part that's even better than the one that you brought in. That's the way they are. They're innovators. They're inventors. They do it all over at Hamel. But they don't forget about the little guys in Niagara Falls. If you shear a pin on your lawnmower, if you need something welded or fixed or machined, if you want back gates for your backyard, a nice pair of gates designed and welded up and made, they'll do it for you. Hamel Machine Shop, been serving industry in Niagara Falls since 1948. And machine shops are so important to industry. They are a big factor of why industry moves to the area. Without a machine shop, a good machine shop, they are wondering how they're going to get things fixed and how far they got to go to find one. Hamel Machine Company, Kent Street in Niagara Falls, and they have a place over here on Bridge, Elders Welding, Hamel APS. Go to their website, hamelmachine.ca. You'll see the beautiful work they do with the wine industry and other industries around town. Support our sponsors because they support the show. Hamel Machine Company. Tell them Paul from Your City Your Voice sent you, and take what you need fixed down there. They're going to take care of you. They're good guys. Okay, Chris. What now? This separation and this whole thing with Alberta. Now, Scott Moe, the premier of Saskatchewan, he's also said that, listen, if the people in Saskatchewan want to hold a referendum on separation, I'm going to allow it. I'm not stopping them. If that's what they want, that's what they're going to get. That's what democracy is about. So you might see something coming out of Saskatchewan as well regarding this 18th, this separation, or the 51st state, or whatever you want to call it, Western Alliance, they've called it, with all the prairie provinces and BC getting in on it. But something's going on there, and with Carney getting elected, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be some kind of a referendum or something on separation.
I would I would think that if within the next 12 months, if there isn't significant movement on the oil and gas side of things, as far as changing the government's policy, I think you'll see something come out of there. Now, I don't know necessarily that there is an appetite amongst the population in either Saskatchewan or Alberta to separate. But so I think the actual separation of those two is remote at this time. But if they have the question out there, like if the federal government of Canada does not change its policy with respect to the development of our natural resources, should the government of Saskatchewan, or should the people of Saskatchewan explore independence? And I could see that just replace Saskatchewan with Alberta in Alberta as well. And I think if you frame the question something like that, I think that you probably get a win on that sort of thing, exploring independence. I don't think when the time actually comes that it would happen. But if you get a yes vote on both of those, and you start making moves towards that sort of thing, that gets the attention of the feds. It'll definitely get the attention of the other provinces, because Alberta and Saskatchewan both contribute way more than they receive back. Alberta to the tune of about $72 billion a year. And our pension plan without Alberta, if they take out their share, would go broke. And Quebec would suffer greatly without the revenues. So I think that would get the attention of the rest of the governments. Now, they would use that either as a negotiating tactic or to force an election, right? So
makes sense.
One of the two.
Well, I know she's already dropped. Danielle Smith has already dropped her list of demandments.
Yeah,
we want this, and if you don't comply, we're going for the referendum.
Nothing she asked for is unreasonable. With negotiation, I mean, she can't have everything she wants the way she wants it, but negotiating a palatable solution is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it's actually very easy to achieve. If you ask me, I look at things a lot more simply than maybe the Mark Carneys of the world do. They need a pipeline. How do you get that across the country? How do you get Quebec? So here's another thing. So Blanchette really doesn't represent the people of Quebec. So he can go out there and bluster about no pipelines and oil and gas is finished and this and that. We don't want that. But he's not in the driver's seat. Who's in the driver's seat is Legault, the premier of Quebec. Blanchette is just a federal politician. He's an MP, and that's it. He has no real power, like none whatsoever. He doesn't have power over Quebec. He doesn't have power over a thing. He has basically he's the leader of a party that has no power, right? Like, that's
Definitely not federally.
No, and that's it. Like
he doesn't want. He just says, I don't care about Canada. I care about
Legault's party in Quebec is not a separatist party. Legault's party in Quebec is a provincial party as part of Canada. They lean conservative. So it's not a separatist party. So Blanchette doesn't have any real say. So he can sit there and blah 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 in the media, and the liberal media can put him on there because they're anti-pipeline and anti-gas and they're with the liberals. But he actually has no power when it comes to pipelines, and when it comes to what the people of Quebec will do. It's if they pass it in the provincial legislature, then Blanchette has to live with it. There's nothing he can do about it. He got no power. So if Legault says, "Hey," goes to people, which 60% of Quebecers are in favor of pipeline. If Legault says to the rest of the premiers or says to the prime minister, "Hey, listen, Quebec will cooperate on a pipeline," then it's pretty simple. He'll make a deal. And I'm sure Quebec will get something out of it. Like so, in the way it works in Europe is if your pipeline goes through your country in Europe, you get what's called transit fees, right?
That makes sense.
So the oil and gas per cubic meter, whatever it is, you get a percentage of that
for crossing your
country, and that pipeline is in your country, and that's it. And it's why the same thing happens here. If you've got a major gas pipeline that runs through your property here, and if you didn't accept a initial buyout where they gave you money up front and said we're going to put this pipeline through, you will get transit fees across your property.
Yeah, they rent your property, basically.
Yeah. So it's the same principle. If you offer that and it's significant enough, and it should be, right? Then what's the problem? I don't understand what the issue would be. I think all provinces would buy into that because it's a source of revenue for them that doesn't cost them anything. They don't have to tax their people for it. The people benefit, and that's the end of that. And you get to export your thing, which overall creates more jobs, more tax dollars for the federal government. Right? So it's like a win-win-win-win-win. And I don't understand what the resistance is. And I don't understand why the Liberals wouldn't even want to explore it. Now they're talking about an energy corridor with nuclear power plants. They want to build these hydro energy corridor because they think that everything's going to be electrified, which is baloney. It's not going to be. But they want to build these nuclear power plants. They want Westinghouse to do it, and guess who owns Westinghouse?
BlackRock or whatever.
Brookfield.
Brookfield. Yeah.
Okay.
I think BlackRock owns Brookfield.
Well, they do. They all own each other, right? So
exactly.
That's it. But it's just it's so easy. I think that our national unity problem, our things, I look at it, like, to me, everything's solvable pretty easily. All you need is a little bit of will, right? A little bit of willpower.
Drop these interprovincial barriers, get the pipeline going, and let's get Canada, make Canada great again.
I don't know. It's just, to me, it looks easy. I don't know. And I think that Pierre thinks it's pretty easy too. Like, just pass the, like, let's just have the environmental impact assessments. Yeah, if there's treaties that need to be addressed with the natives, yeah, they get transit fees too. And I'm sure that they're going to go for it. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't.
All about the money.
Like, let's just,
share.
Let's just share it. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Hey, that's common sense.
Oh, I know. It's hard to come by these days, actually.
Yeah, it's not so common.
Yeah.
One last thing before we end this show. What's next for the Conservatives? Where do you think we're going now?
They're going to... So Pierre will end up in the House of Commons probably in the fall session. I don't think he'll get there in the summer session. In this session that's going to take place before the summer break.
So Scheer's going to take over.
So Scheer will be there, and they'll be questioning. Pierre will be sitting in the gallery most likely, and be questioning, throwing questions through Scheer and through Landsman to the Conservatives. But it'll be a short session, so because they'll be in I think it's May 26th. They go back in, and then they'll be out again by the end of June.
Summer break.
So summer break, and then they'll be back in September, by which time Pierre will be leader, and then he'll take over. The Conservatives are going to keep hammering the Liberals on their platform, on the things that they think are important. Pipelines being one of them. Getting rid of the carbon tax, the industrial carbon tax, getting rid of other things that they think are there. They're going to be there holding the government to account, and then they're going to be hoping to create conditions within, probably, I said, about within the next year and a half to 2 years, in order to call an election again. That's the way it is. They're going to go. They're going to be trying to convince Canadians across the country that the things that they're advocating for make more sense for them. And I think the Canadians will more and more, even the older Canadians that are now not as afraid of Donald Trump in the next few months to years, I think that Canadians will buy into, and I think maybe they'll realize when they'll make them that there's a mistake made, that they made a mistake when they see the continued decline of their health services and their increased taxes, and when they come after their home equity and the stuff, they'll actually understand that they made a mistake, and they won't apologize for it, but they'll go out and they'll probably go out and correct it. So, and if Pierre improves on his 41.7%, even if he just holds the 41.7%, and the NDP grabs 5% more than what they did, the Conservatives have a major majority.
There you go. Very simple.
So
anyway, that's it. That breaks down that election and what happened, the psychology of Canadians, what's next for the Conservatives. And now we just wait and see what happens, what Art Carney does with. I can't wait to go home and see Trump, him talking to Trump, this pencil neck guy.
It's not. I just saw some quick little video clips, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Just it's just I don't know. It's like he looks like a little old lady next to Trump.
Yeah, he's this big guy, Trump, and he's this.
I don't know. It just. I mean, listen. I'm not saying that Carney's not a smart guy. He's smart, but he's not dealing with someone. He's dealing with a bull in a china shop. You just. You got to be a bull yourself, otherwise. And Carney just doesn't have that capability, and Canada isn't in that position. So how do you contain the bull in the china shop? You got to trick him into going for something that ain't so expensive.
You got to be smarter than him.
Yeah,
number one.
But
and
it's
Trump's,
not. So it's not. Trump's pretty smart, but no. But it's his people that you're negotiating with, right? You're not negotiating directly with him. He has a final say over things, but his people will be giving him advice. So your two teams are getting together, and I just don't have faith in that Liberal team.
No,
I don't.
Not
at all.
Anyway, we got to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been an interesting show, and I couldn't wait to get you in here to talk about this election. We were going to do it last week. You couldn't make it, but you got in here finally, and there you go. Well, now we wait and see what happens, where everything's going to go, and see if our predictions come true, what Alberta's going to do. It's actually, to be honest with you, a very exciting time. Rather than thinking anybody's butthurt over this, I think Conservatives are pumped up. They saw something here that they haven't seen in a long time.
No, absolutely.
And I think it's going to be interesting for the next couple of years exactly what's going to happen.
No, here. We're very happy with how things. I mean, we're not happy with the election itself because our vote distribution wasn't the greatest. But at the end of the day, we made gains. We did some real good work convincing Canadians that Conservative way is the good way. I think that we can build on that really easily. So, Conservatives I think we're sitting good. We're in a very good position, very strong position.
I agree 100%. My name is Paul Killamere. This is Your City, Your Voice, coming to you from the studios of 4680Q, downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Chris, for coming. It's always a pleasure to have Chris Rigas in the studio. A fountain of information. That's what we call him, a fountain of information. And when we do regional roundups and we see stuff going on, he comes in for that too because he watches the region like a hawk too. He's one of the Doge guys over here.
I'd love to be a Doge guy for sure.
Oh, me too. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you all. Support our sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Victoria Avenue, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, and Hamel Machine Company. We'll see you tomorrow with Absolutely, talking about the Habs getting knocked out last week, but we're not butthurt either. We had a hell of a year. And then we'll be back for a Straight Talk Thursday and finally Friday towards the end of the week. Have a great one, everybody. Take it easy. Enjoy the nice day. City Council at 4 o'clock. Don't miss the meeting. It's going to be a good one. And what else can I say?
That's it.
We're just watching. We're watching. And if you watch us, we're watching them. So,
That's correct.
So there you go. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Chris.